Hello everyone, my name is Roya and this is my November wrap-up part 1 with all the books that I read in the first half of November. The first book that I read this month was Moon Called by Patricia Briggs, and this is about a girl named Mercy who is a shapeshifter and she can turn into a coyote. And basically in this world, Fae have come out to humans as, hey, we exist, bloody bloody. And so other supernatural creatures are starting to do the same thing, sort of, but not really, or considering doing the same thing, etc., etc. So basically I felt like this book was really, really good and that it had a really awesome badass chick as the main character, and that a lot of multicultural people were in it. Like, most of the characters are diverse, including our main character, which is really great. But I also felt like the plot felt a little bit flat to me, a little bit, because most of the conflict had to do with werewolves. And our main character is not a werewolf. She is a shapeshifter, and she's also not a fae, and there's a lot to do with fae when there's only one fae character in it, and there's only, and he's not even a main character. So I felt like, the whole conflict, I felt like there was this disconnect between, the main character, whose first-person point of view we follow, and thusly the reader, and the actual conflict, because the conflict wasn't directly related to the main character at all. I was also reminded how much more I prefer vampires than werewolves, because werewolves get so redundant to read about. I swear, I don't know. I guess just the fact that vampires are actually dead and you can expect not really human behavior out of them, whereas with werewolves, they're human, but they're also animals, and they're not dead, and you're like, who are you? And it's Al Capone Does My Shirts by Jennifer Denko, is about a boy named Moose who has just moved to Alcatraz because this takes place during the time when Alcatraz was actually in use as a prison, and his father has just gotten a job as a prison guard in order to pay for his little sister Natalie's school. And actually Natalie is older than him, but they just keep saying that she's 10, even though she's 15, because she just has a mental disability, and it never actually says what kind of mental disability she has, but this is, back in the 1930s, and so people didn't always treat mental disabilities the same as they do now, and so a lot of the conflict of this book has to do with how do we get her into this school that she really needs to go to because it's actually going to help her, and bloody bloody, but they won't accept her because she screams in the middle of the night. And so I really was entertained by this book. It had a lot of funny moments and a lot of bittersweet melancholy moments too, and it was really, really fun to read. The next 3 books that I read in this month were Born Wicked, Star Cursed, and Sister's Fate, the 3 books in the Cahill Witch Chronicles. The series is about, basically, if the Puritan era had kind of extended up to the 1800s. In this world, witches used to be in power, but they were overthrown long ago by the Brotherhood, basically, who are these priestly fellows who kind of oversee everything that goes on. And so basically the story follows this girl named Kate Cahill and her 2 sisters, Maura and Tess, and they are all witches, and nobody knows that they are witches, because in this world witches are either put to death or sent to a madhouse, and that just really sucks. So basically in this world, women have to either get married or join the sisterhood, which is basically nuns doing charity work pretty much. So if you don't want to join the sisterhood, you have to get married by the time you are 17, and if you don't have a marriage offer, basically the Brotherhood picks a husband for you, and either it's some douche or some gross old guy. Basically it's just a shitty world for a teenage girl to grow up in. And finally, the last book that I read in the first half of November is The Falconer by Elizabeth May, and I loved this book. It's insane. The Falconer is about a girl who hunts fairies, and she keeps it a secret from everybody because she is a noble lady and she's supposed to be like all proper. But basically she's searching for the fairy that killed her mother a year ago. So I loved this book. It was so action-packed. At first I wasn't sure why it was billed as a steampunk book, because I thought, okay, this is kind of weird. They're like trying to mishmash too many things into one book and it makes no sense. But then once it got more into the book, like past the beginning part, I started understanding like the steampunk elements had a lot more to do with it, and I was like, okay, I guess I can kind of see why this is billed as a steampunk book. I mean, come on, she like built her own flying machine and she flies around in it. So what's more is that this takes place in Scotland and it's super cool. The thing that I didn't like, however, was the romance, because it's kind of weird. There's a not really love triangle because one of the dudes is the dude who she's actually in love with but can't be with ever. And then the other dude is not in love with her and she's not in love with him, but they do kind of have a connection and they don't really have a romance. They're just friends, but it seems like they're going to have a romance, but then they don't. So, or something like that. So it's kind of insane how, like, I was really rooting for one dude, and it turned out that the person she really started a relationship with was the other dude, who I just really was not a fan of at all. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but I think if you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. I just was not a fan of that. Like, the dude just kind of seems like he doesn't give a shit about her, other than, you know, her role as the fairy killer, and then he basically just flips a switch all of a sudden and is like, I'm in love with you, and I'm just like, really, dude? Loved this book. I read most of it in one sitting, pretty much, which is kind of insane. It's almost 400 pages. I read like the last like 350 pages all in one sitting, which is just insane, but I really liked this book a lot. Okay, upon finishing this, I found myself really wishing that I had the second one on hand to start right away, but I don't, and I couldn't go to the library and just get it because my fiance took my car, so his won't start, so he took mine, and I was like, damn it, I can't go to the library and get my book. But oh well. So those are the books that I read during the first half of November. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!